In 1968, Paul McCartney wrote the song Blackbird to encourage those experiencing the racial segregation and discrimination observed in America. In London, girls were referred to as birds. Under segregation, children of color were relegated to insufficient classrooms with limited teachers and resources. The inequity was controversial, creating conflict for the families impacted. Throughout history, girls and women made a significant impact on the desegregation of American schools, with some paying the ultimate price for today's diversity. They faced many conflicts and controversies, but remained dedicated to their goal of educational equality. In 1832, Prudence Crandall was the first teacher to allow an African American student, Sarah Harris Fairweather, into her private all-girls school with great community backlash. In 1904, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune created a school for black girls with only $1.50 and 5 students. The Daytona Literary and Industrial Training School for Negro Girls later merged with Cookman Institute to become Bethune-Cookman University. In 1954, Linda Brown was one of several plaintiffs in the Supreme Court Brown v. Board of Education case. The decision ended segregation, but many schools resisted the ruling, leading to a major battle for school desegregation in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957. There are countless Blackbirds who have not been recognized for their contributions to the diversity in today's schools. McCartney wrote his song to encourage Elizabeth Eckford and the Little Rock Nine as they desegregated Central High. The images shared by the media placed the conflict of Little Rock's school desegregation under global scrutiny. President Eisenhower, a former 5-star Army general, was unwilling to compromise the issue. Miss Elizabeth Eckford is a family friend and mentor. I interviewed her and Miss Thelma Mothershed Ware, original members of the Little Rock Nine, this summer after my family evacuated due to Hurricane Irma. The Little Rock Nine were advised by another determined Blackbird, Mrs. Daisy Bates, president of the Little Rock NAACP. The 9 brave students endured a year of torture by students, parents, and administrators for an entire school year, despite being assigned federal military protection. Last September marked the 60th anniversary of their courageous efforts. I also interviewed Dr. Sybil Jordan Hampton, one of the second group of African American students to attend Central High.
And so, from the time of slavery, our people in this country have always believed that there was going to be a generation that experienced all the promises of democracy. And so as a child, I was that next generation. And therefore, education was very, very important. Be educated.
My name is Elizabeth Eckford. I was 15 years old when Little Rock Central High School was desegregated, and I was one of the students that were called the Little Rock Nine.
If you notice, with the Little Rock Nine, 6 of them were female. And that was on purpose, I believe, because they were seen as non-threatening, whereas the males were seen as potential threats.
When the Arkansas governor used the National Guard troops, he was defying a federal court order. This posed a constitutional conflict between states' rights and federal rights.
You can see the struggle of power between the state government and the federal government. The state government under Fox was saying, we are not going to integrate the schools. But the federal government is saying, yes, you are gonna integrate the schools. So you see the conflict between the two powers.
She influenced me just by the way she looked. The strength, some people say, well, even she may not say she was strong, but the strength that she showed just in the photographs and in the video clips of her, strength came through, and it inspired a lot of us. Well, we can do that if she did that.
I remember being scared most of the time. And sometimes I regret my lack of boldness. During the segregation of schools here in Little Rock, the usual leadership was silent. Business people, the Chamber of Commerce type people, were silent. And in that vacuum, women stepped forward. There was a group of white women who gradually brought other women along with them, and they they were determined to get the schools reopened.
And Arkansas National Guard was called out by the governor to keep the Little Rock Nine from entering the school. Eisenhower wasn't particularly that interested in civil rights, but he didn't like the governor, Governor Faubus, defying his order, which of course goes back to Brown v. Board of 1954, to segregate the school or desegregate the schools.
When the federal troops were brought in, I think that my response was, thank goodness people at the highest levels of the federal government are not going to sit back and allow the governor and people in the state to publicly on TV fly in the face of the Constitution and of the Supreme Court. And so our country was standing up for us. And that's not to be forgotten by young people now, is that there are many times when our country has not stood up for us and things have happened and people at the highest level of the government really made immoral choices. And while I think President Eisenhower may not have been thrilled about what happened, I think that he understood it was a moment for a moral imperative, and he made the choice.
They knew they had the right to enter the school, to get the education that they knew that they deserved. So they didn't expect the resistance from their neighbors, from the community, from people coming from all over, such resistance. That was the last thing they expected. 9 young people that basically, in all their innocence, pursuing their dream, and that is an equal education.
Only waiting for this moment to rise.
On September 15, 1963, in Birmingham, Alabama, the 16th Street Baptist Church was bombed as an act of retaliation against the school desegregation movement that was happening at the time. This sparked a catalyst for the civil rights movement. The bomb was work of Ku Klux Klan-affiliated members killing 4 little girls: Carol Robertson, Cynthia Wesley, Denise McNair, and Addie Mae Collins. But there was a 5th little girl, Addie's sister Sarah, who was partially blinded due to the blast. When touring the Birmingham Institute in 2014, my mother was struck by Denise McNair's personal items on display at the museum. At the time, I was her same age. Now, at 15, I am the same age as Miss Eckford when she first attempted to attend Central High. If more people connected to history's conflicts, we might be able to achieve a compromise.
Because we don't say the word terrorism, right? But that was sure domestic terrorism that they endured every day. We don't say that. We're careful with that.
But nevertheless, hope remains.
And that was, I always had been taught by my parents to look at the long game, and that what was happening in the moment was happening in the moment, but it was not the end of the story.
The Little Rock Nine received numerous recognitions for their sacrifices and contributions to civil rights, to include a postage stamp, a silver dollar, and the prestigious Congressional Gold Medal, America's highest honor.
We knew that as pioneers, that if we were able to stick and stay, that it would have an impact on people coming behind us. I was a blackbird in 1957.
We thank the countless girls and women who endured unimaginable conflict to desegregate America's schools. They never compromised on their values and beliefs. Due to them, today's blackbirds soar.
All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to rise. Blackbird singing in the